Hello there, it's a new week, it's Unlock 1, and it has to be said it's almost strange that as coronavirus cases continue to rise and rise and rise, the whole world seems to be finding other things now to think about. It's almost as if there is some fatigue with the coronavirus. I mean, it's certainly true in the country which has the largest number of coronavirus cases and deaths by far, the United States, where attention very clearly is now on Black Lives Matter and the violence that we're seeing all across America. And even here in India, India has now become number 7 when it comes to coronavirus cases. We've overtaken countries like France and Germany. In terms of number of cases, in terms of number of deaths, India is still at number 13, and that's because, as I keep telling you, the number of deaths, the death to case or the death to recovery ratio is not that high in India. But even in India, today, we're already starting to, I think a lot about what is going to happen to the economy, which is why today we did have a cabinet meeting and we had ministers coming out and announcing some more details about what's going to be done to farmers and what's going to be done with MSMEs. But the other bigger question that everyone is continuing to grapple with is that as this unlocking happens, what are some of the details? And Delhi in particular was a lot in attention today, because Arvind Kejriwal said that, look, we are opening up, we're going to allow a lot of things to happen, but maybe the borders should be sealed. And it's interesting because just till yesterday, it was the other cities in the NCR which were sealing the borders with Delhi because Delhi has so many cases. Today, the Delhi government saying, we'll seal the borders now because there are so many hospitals in Delhi, and if everyone else comes inside, how will we treat everybody? So obviously, there are some questions there that are going to require a certain amount of thinking and perhaps some decisions at a nationwide level. All right, let's quickly take you through all the big stories at this hour.
Another day, another record spike in coronavirus cases in India. The country recorded the biggest single-day jump of 8,392 fresh cases in the last 24 hours, according to the Health Ministry data on Monday morning. It takes the total tally to 1,90,535 cases. The death toll has increased to 5,394, with 230 deaths in the last 24 hours. These alarming numbers come as curbs are being slowly relaxed, with the government announcing a phased unlock plan from June. 91,818 people have been cured, and with this, the recovery rate in the country has gone slightly up to nearly 48%.
The Union Cabinet on Monday approved an increase in minimum support prices of 14 kharif crops. The increased MSP will ensure a price which will be 50% to 83% more than the cost of production, INB Minister Prakash Javadekar said.
न्यूनतम समर्थन मूल्य उसकी कुल लागत का 1.5 गुना ज्यादा रखने का अपना वादा सरकार पूरा कर रही है। खरीफ फसल 20-21 के 14 फसलों के CACP आधारित न्यूनतम समर्थन मूल्य जारी कर दिया गया है। इन 14 फसलों पर किसानों को अब लागत का 50 से लेकर 83% तक ज्यादा दाम हासिल होगा।
The Union Cabinet has approved multiple schemes to help MSMEs, which include 20,000 crore rupees subordinate debt, 50,000 crore equity infusion, and change of definition once again.
MSME की परिभाषा में परिवर्तन है। ये व्यवसाय करने को आसान बनाने की दिशा में एक और कदम है और ये MSME क्षेत्र के निवेश को आकर्षित करने और अधिक नौकरियां पैदा करने में भारत में मदद करेगा। जो MSME संकट में है, उनको इक्विटी सहायता प्रदान करने के लिए अधीनस्थ ऋण के रूप में 20,000 करोड़ रुपए का प्रावधान का प्रस्ताव आज कैबिनेट द्वारा औपचारिक रूप से अनुमोदित किया गया। इससे 2 लाख ऐसे जो संकट में है ऐसे MSME को फायदा होगा। MSME के लिए 50,000 करोड़ रुपए के इक्विटी निवेश का प्रस्ताव भी पहली दफा हुआ है। ये MSME को ऋण इक्विटी अनुपात के प्रबंधन और उनकी क्षमता वृद्धि में मदद करने के लिए एक ढांचा तैयार करेगा।
Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal on Monday opened the capital but announced closing of the city borders for the next 1 week. Only essential services commute will be allowed into Delhi from the neighbouring states. Announcing new norms for the capital, Chief Minister said that all shops and markets will now be open in the capital without the odd-even rule. Barber shops and salons will also be back in business. The government has also removed the passenger limit on autos, e-rickshaws and other vehicles.
The Directorate General of Civil Aviation on Monday asked the airlines to keep the middle seat vacant to the extent possible. If a flyer is allotted the middle seat due to high passenger load, then additional protective equipment must be provided to them. Recommendations made by the DGCA include that all passengers be given a safety kit by the airline, no meals or drinking water shall be served on board, aircraft be sanitized post the flight, airports shall explore the possibility of disinfection tunnels, among others. India resumed its domestic passenger flights from May 25th after a gap of 2 months due to the coronavirus-triggered lockdown. International commercial passenger flights continue to remain suspended in the country.
A floor of Nithya Yog's office in Delhi has been sealed for sanitation after a staffer tested positive for COVID-19. The third floor of the Nithya Yog office in Delhi has been sealed and sanitization work is underway. As per protocol, all members of the Nithya Yog have been asked to go for self-quarantine for 14 days and work from home. Earlier this week, at least 2 officials working with the External Affairs Ministry tested positive for coronavirus.
The Prime Minister's office has refused to disclose details about the PM CARES Fund, saying that it is not a public authority. In reply to an RTI query regarding the special fund created to collect donations for dealing with coronavirus, the PMO said that the fund does not come under the Right to Information Act as it is not a public authority and all relevant details about the fund can be found on its website. The RTI was filed by a law student who wanted to know why a separate fund was created in spite of an already existing PM's National Relief Fund. Violent clashes took place between police and protesters outside White House on Sunday night as the protests continued across the US against the killing of a black man by a white cop. Police fired tear gas to try and disperse protesters outside the White House. Flashbang devices were used against crowds who had gathered outside President Donald Trump's official residence, chanting, lighting fires and holding up protest signs, reports said. As protesters gathered outside the White House Friday night in Washington, D.C., President Donald Trump was briefly taken to the underground bunker for a period of time, reports said, quoting a White House official. The president was in the bunker for a little under an hour before being brought upstairs. It is unclear if First Lady Melania Trump and their son Barron Trump were also taken down with him. Trump praised the Secret Service the next day for its handling of the protests outside the White House in the wake of George Floyd's death last week in Minneapolis.
US President Donald Trump has said that America will designate far-left extremist group Antifa as a terrorist organization in view of its role in violence across the country. Antifa, regarded as a militant left-wing anti-fascist political activist movement in the United States, comprises autonomous activist groups that aim to achieve their political objectives through the use of direct action rather than through policy reforms. The Trump administration is blaming this far-left extremist group for the sudden spike in violent protests across the country after the brutal killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis.
Google Chief Sundar Pichai has shown solidarity with the African American community in the United States amid the widespread protests over the on-camera death of an unarmed black man in police custody. Pichai said that those feeling grief, anger, sadness and fear are not alone. He also unveiled a black ribbon on Google and YouTube's US home pages, which he said represents his company's support for racial equality.